Hey, BYHYU. Welcome to episode 152 of Build Your House Yourself University. I'm your host and fellow student, Michelle Nelson, and together we'll learn the basics of home design and construction and demystify the building process so we can build quality dream homes with or without a general contractor. Although communicating with our contractors is an important part of successfully building our homes, there are certain things that we should never say to them. This week and next, we'll discuss some of those taboo phrases and questions that should never be uttered to our contractors. Before we get to that, special thanks goes to AMD Atelier. I took French, so I'm assuming the last part of your name is French. Anyway, I'm going with it. Thank you so much for that latest 5-star rating and review. I appreciate you so much for that generous praise and for telling your friends about the podcast. All right, let's get to part 1 of our list of things we should never say to our contractors. Number 1, you're the only one bidding on this job. As a general rule, we should always get a minimum of 3 bids. And we should let the contractors bidding on our projects know that we're considering other contractors and getting more than 1 bid. That way, they know to price their work competitively. Ask specifically for a bid with an itemized cost breakdown of materials and labor. This will really help you when comparing bids and contractors. Be aware that many contractors will mark up the cost of materials. It's important to independently verify the cost of materials after receiving the bid by getting a quote from the supply warehouse yourself. If you found that your contractor has marked up materials during negotiations, you can ask him if he would be willing to drop that markup. Not only are single-level islands a more up-to-date option that can make your kitchen feel more open, but they give you a larger working surface as compared to a 2-level island. This large practical surface is perfect for spreading out food during a buffet dinner or during parties. Number 2, I'm not in a hurry, so take your time. Telling your contractor you're not in a hurry implies that it's okay if he and his crew prioritize other projects over yours. We should all expect a few delays due to uncontrollable circumstances, but it's better to tell your contractors up front that you need their work to be completed by an agreed-upon timetable. That will give them a sense of urgency and timeliness that you probably won't benefit from if you tell them you're in no hurry. To minimize delays, you can specify in your contract how many contractors should be on the job site each day and that work will be, quote, continuous if weather permits, end quote, meaning the crew can't take a week or 2 off to go to another job site if work is not hindered by bad weather. Request a firm start date and an estimate of a completion date and add the phrase, quote, starting and completion dates are of the essence of the contract. This statement will give you greater protection if a schedule dispute arises. Again, that statement is starting and completion dates are of the essence of the contract. Number 3, I'll pay you up front for the job if you give me a good discount. Giving your contractor a ton of cash up front won't usually make your contractor move faster or do better work. Paying a contractor his entire fee up front is one of the stupidest things anyone can do, even if he agrees to give a significant discount. If you pay a contractor up front, he has absolutely no incentive to do a good job in a timely manner. And worse, he might take the money and disappear. Holding off on payment allows you to hold the contractor accountable. Pay your bill up front, and you're taking that safety net away. I'm not even a fan of giving a contractor a significant deposit before he started work. Most contractors that are in good financial standing should have enough money to get the materials that they need to start your project. If not, you can offer to accompany them to the supply warehouse and make the purchase of materials yourself. Be sure the company delivers the materials to your home site and not to the contractor. Be advised that if you pay someone too much up front, there's no guarantee that they will ever finish or maybe even start the job. Number 4, since you're almost done, here's your final payment. Even if there's just a little cleanup or a few last finishing touches to be done, it's always best to hold the final payment. Never give a contractor his final payment until the project has passed inspections and the project is done to your satisfaction, including punch list items, which are small fixes and touch-ups that need to be completed. Withhold a significant agreed-upon amount for the final payment, around 20 to 33% of the total fee. This will further incentivize contractors to complete your job. If the final payment is only 5 to 10% of the job total, the contractor may be tempted to move on to the next, more lucrative job without completing your project. At the end of the job, don't forget to get an unconditional waiver of mechanics lien rights, also called a final lien waiver. This unconditional waiver of mechanics lien rights, or final lien waiver, frees the homeowner from the responsibility of making future payments and from having to pay the contractor's unpaid bills. So if you, as homeowner, have an unconditional lien waiver, you cannot be sued for outstanding bills for labor and supplies used for your project. Number 5, this is my budget for the project. If you're hiring an architect, I think it's important to disclose your budget so she isn't designing a house that's larger or more complex or detailed than you can afford. However, when it comes to contractors or interior designers, keep your specific budget to yourself. If it makes you feel better, you can give them a budget range. For example, you can say something like between $20,000 and $30,000. The better thing to do, in my opinion, is to tell contractors the level of quality you're expecting, based realistically on the money that you have for that part of the project. And then give them a list of your must-have materials. For example, Energy Star rated double pane windows, or copper plumbing, or asphalt roof shingles with a lifetime warranty. Tell them your favorite brands and any details that you know and care about. Then let them come up with a bid independent of knowing your specific budget. You can always adjust the materials to fit better into your budget after you get the bid. Now, we definitely want to be respectful of the contractor's time and effort. So before they start working on the bid, give the contractors as much information about your home's details and materials as you can. But let the bid be based primarily on the cost of materials and labor instead of the bid being based primarily on your budget. If you tell your contractor you have about $15,000 to spend on windows or landscaping or plumbing or cabinets, you're more than likely going to get bids around $15,000, even if the contractor could do a quality job for $10,000. Number 6, I'd like you to choose the materials for my job. If you allow the contractor to choose all your materials for you, you're giving him the power to control the quality and cost of your job. He might choose materials that are too high-end, or he might choose materials that are inexpensive and poor quality. You, as homeowner, should be controlling the quality and cost of your project, not your contractor. It's important that we continue to educate ourselves so we can make smart decisions about the materials we want to use for our homes. Even if you don't know everything about each type of material, we should be able to communicate whether we want high-end products, low-end products, or something in the middle. Electrical wiring, for example, is something that most lay people will never fully understand, but we should be able to generally communicate our expectations. You might say something like this: I don't necessarily need top-of-the-line materials, but I want really good quality materials that will allow me to have a party in the dead of summer with the air conditioning on full blast, with most of the lights and appliances running, and have the DJ be able to play with all his equipment without blowing a fuse. For things like cabinets, flooring, HVAC systems, interior doors, windows, and roofing, we should know basic differences in quality and cost so that we can choose what's best based on our needs and budget. Specify within the final contract which materials the contractor should use. And to protect against obviously substandard materials and workmanship, include a catch-all phrase in your contract that says something like the contractor will, quote, complete the project in a professional manner, end quote. Number 7, don't worry about cleaning up your mess. Just get the job done. Newsflash, cleaning up is a part of getting the job done. It's common courtesy. People, and especially contractors, should clean up after themselves. One contractor's mess may hinder the work of another contractor. So it's important to make material disposal and cleanup a part of the contract. Standard contracts should include a phrase that says the work area should be left broom clean. That phrase works for most contractors. Some trades may charge a substantial amount for cleanup depending on where you are. And you might want to save a few bucks by cleaning up yourself, but it takes a lot of time and work. And some counties charge substantial fees for waste disposal and have strict regulations and recycling rules about construction waste. So in most cases, making cleanup your contractor's responsibility is worth the expense. And number 8, you understand what I want, don't you? Don't assume a contractor knows what you want or what you've asked for, even if you've communicated it verbally. Make sure you spell everything out in the written contract and or materials list and or scope of work. It's even better to add printed photos or sketches of what you want so there's not only verbal and written communication, but also visual examples too. Ask the contractor specific questions about his understanding of what's been decided. Something like, I just want to make sure I've got this straight. What's the exact name of the brick we're going to order? Or, is the electrical outlet going to be placed here or over there? Or, you could say something like, okay, can you summarize things for me just so I'm clear about our plan? Ask in a kind, non-condescending way, not like you're testing your contractor, but as if you're trying to make sure you understand what's going on. Well, that's part 1 of things you should never say to your contractor. Come back next week for part 2. Thanks for listening to another episode of Build Your House Yourself University. BYHYU. Please remember that the purpose of this podcast is simply to educate and inform. It's not a substitute for professional advice. The information that you hear is based only on the opinions, research, and experiences of my guests and myself. That information might be incomplete, it's subject to change, and it may not apply to your project. In addition, building codes and requirements vary from region to region, so always consult a professional about specific recommendations for your home.